Good evening and welcome to Poland Daily. I'm Nicholas Richardson and this is the news. The Regional Prosecutor's Office in Szczecin has submitted a new request to lift the immunity of Senate Speaker Tomasz Grodzki. The Minister of Justice and Prosecutor General, Zbigniew Ziobro, announced today on Radio Szczecin. The prosecutor's second request for criminal prosecution of the Senate Speaker is connected with the Transplant Assistance Foundation. On Friday, the National Prosecutor's Office received a request to waive the immunity of Senate Speaker Tomasz Grodzki. Prosecutors will consider the legitimacy of the submission and decide whether to forward it to the Senate. This relates to a completely new case, which is related to a procedure involving hundreds of people, where money was extorted from these patients by misleading them as to the circumstances of paying funds in exchange for treatment or for expedited treatment. According to Senator Wadim Tiskiewicz, the issue is purely political. The elections are less than 2 weeks away. That's what immunity is for, to also protect public figures such as the Speaker of the Senate or the Speaker of the Sejm. The first request by the Regional Prosecutor's Office in Szczecin to agree to criminal prosecution of the Senate Speaker was submitted to the Senate back in March 2021. Investigators suspect that Tomasz Grodzki accepted bribes from patients when he was director of specialized hospital in Szczecin and head of the Department of Thoracic Surgery there. For many months, this motion was kept somewhere in the Senate freezer. Finally, when it was put to a vote, we appealed as senators to Law and Justice that Speaker Grodzki simply waive his immunity, that he simply clear himself of these charges like any other citizen. On the 18th of May 2022, more than a year after the prosecutor's office filed a motion to waive his immunity, the Senate refused to hold the Speaker accountable. The prosecutor's office intended to charge Tomasz Grodzki with 4 counts of accepting bribes in 2006, 2009 and 2012, in amounts ranging from 1,500 to 7,000 zloty. In return, he pledged personally to carry out the procedure or expedite the appointment. The prosecutor's office must have a powerful body of evidence, and Grodzki is hiding behind immunity, which is simply shameful, for the reason that if he had nothing on his conscience, he would have turned the case over to the court for evaluation long ago. In March 2020, the Central Anti-Corruption Bureau secured documents of the Transplantation Assistance Foundation, operating at the Szczecin Zdonovo Hospital. One of its founders was today's Speaker of the Senate. According to the findings of the prosecutor's office, the total amount of money obtained through fraud and corruption exceeds 1.5 million zloty. There were a number of crimes, no longer just corruption, but also fraud, money laundering, and also activities within an organized crime group. The Transplant Assistance Foundation was a front for carrying out these activities. As part of this foundation, they carried out crimes that involved convincing patients that they had to pay for services at the hospital, for services that were, in fact, after all, financed by the National Health Fund. The suspects were said to have conditioned the acceleration of an operation on payments to the foundation averaged 10,000 zloty. In this way, the money deposited from patients went to the foundation's account, and from it to the private account of surgeon Christopher K. One of the 3 detained doctors enriched himself in this way by almost 500,000 zloty. The first attempt to waive the immunity of Tomasz Grodzki and the prosecutor's office was made in the spring of 2021. The Senate Speaker has been hiding behind immunity for 926 days. Checks on the border with Slovakia will resume from midnight. In addition, most likely today, the Czech authorities will also decide to reinstate temporary border checks on their border with Slovakia.
Rząd podjął decyzję o wznowieniu tymczasowej kontroli granicznej.
The government has decided to resume temporary border checks on the border with Slovakia. The checks will be introduced at midnight today. We informed the Interior Ministry of Slovakia, Germany, Austria and the Czech Republic about the situation yesterday. Today, I also informed the European Commission in writing. According to the Schengen Code, in an emergency situation, an EU country can introduce such a temporary control. Also, we are introducing it for a period of time, according to the procedure for 10 days. But it is highly likely that, according to the provisions of the procedures in force, this control will be extended, especially since we have a situation in Slovakia that is quite unusual. Parliamentary elections have just taken place, and we do not know how long the process of electing a new government will last, because normalizing the situation on the Polish-Slovak border undoubtedly requires good cooperation, and we expect such cooperation with the Slovak authorities.
Właśnie odbyły się wybory parlamentarne.
Zgodnie z kodeksem Schengen. In accordance with the Schengen Code, this control will be able to be renewed for successive periods, no longer than 20 days, with the total period under this article of reinstatement reinstatement of border control being a maximum of 2 months. The checks will begin today at midnight on the Polish-Slovak border section, while it should be clearly indicated that in this pedestrian traffic in these 11 places, we will allow only the movement of citizens of the European Union. As a deadly shooting unfolded in a shopping mall in Thailand's capital Bangkok on Tuesday, an eyewitness said she heard gunshots and saw people running from the scene. At least 3 people were killed and 4 injured when a gunman started shooting at a luxury mall. Thai police said that they have arrested a 14-year-old suspected gunman. Shir Yahav, a 26-year-old tourist from Israel, was shopping in Prada with her partner when she heard 6 or 7 shots from another floor. They hid in a warehouse attached to the Prada store for 90 minutes, barricading the door shut to stay safe, she added.
We see all the people run. We don't understand why it happened. And so we go after them. And after that we hear a shots, very shots. We ask people and they say us in the store, and they tell us that they have a shooter and he ran away and in the first floor and not yet catch him. And we be in the warehouse in the Prada like 2 hours, 1 hour and a half, something like that. And we block the door, all the door we block. And that's all. Yeah. Now we're here.
Unverified videos on social media showed scenes of chaos. People, including children, running out of the doors of the mall while security guards ushered them out. Prime Minister Sreta Tavisin expressed concern over the incident. The Royal Swedish Academy of Sciences has announced the winners of the Nobel Prize for Physics. They are a trio of scientists: Frenchman Pierre Agostini of Ohio University, Hungarian Ferenc Krausz of Munich University, and Frenchwoman Anne Lhuillier of Lund University. The researchers were recognised for experimental methods generating attosecond pulses of light to study the dynamics of electrons in matter. The prize-awarding academy said their studies had given humanity new tools for exploring the movement of electrons inside atoms and molecules.
This is about attosecond physics. The ability to generate attosecond pulses of light has opened the door on a tiny, extremely tiny timescale. And it's also opened the door to the world of electrons.
Changes in electrons occur in a few tenths of an attosecond, a unit so short that there are as many attoseconds in 1 second as there have been seconds since the birth of the universe.
So the prize this year is about very short pulses of radiation at the time scale of 1 attosecond. So an attosecond is very, very small. It's hard to imagine, but most people are familiar with the concept of a billion. So if you take a second and you divide it into a billion, and then you take one of those things and divide it a billion times again, you get 10 to the minus 18, or 1 attosecond. And these short pulses of light are interesting to study how electrons move around in atoms, for example, when they form a chemical bond or something like this.
It was the achievement of many comrades in arms who went the way together with me, first in Vienna, then later here in Garching, even when things didn't look so good and there were longer lean periods. So, to all these colleagues, friends and cooperation partners, I would like to say a very, very big thank you. Actually, this prize belongs to all of us and not to me alone. Announced on consecutive weekdays in early October, the announcement of the Physics Prize will be followed by those for Chemistry, Literature, Peace and Economics, the latter a later addition to the original prize categories. That's the news. Thank you for watching. Stay with us for the weather, Poland Daily Business and more programmes. But from me, it's have a good night and a better tomorrow.